Hi everybody and happy Video Monday. Teshia here. For this week's video, I want to discuss with you a topic that I received a question about from a girl named Janet. So Janet's a lovely lady who follows my page, and what Janet wanted me to address today was the creeping battle of the bulge as we age. So she was referring specifically to moving into the menopause years and what women can do to keep their weight in check during this time. So if you know anybody who's entering that phase or is in that phase and is struggling, or if you yourself are in this phase, I hope this video helps you. If you know somebody who's in it, please share this video with them. So whenever I receive a question, basically what I do is I get a piece of paper and I just kind of go into automatic writing mode, and I think of all of the things that I would look into with a client if they were to come to me with this problem. And so yeah, that's what I'm going to go over with you guys today. So basically, when women move into menopause, the main thing that happens is progesterone and estrogen levels drop. When we're younger, it's often easier to keep the body or the body weight and body fat percentage in check because of these hormones. These hormones actually help us to be more insulin sensitive. Come back to that in a little bit in case that's a new term for you. But basically, hormones are good things. Often we think of our hormones as being bad and we don't want them, but we actually do want a certain healthy level of these hormones in the body. And when we enter menopause, they start to drop. What also happens is estrogen and progesterone drop, but progesterone often drops even more than estrogen. So even though your estrogen is also low, your progesterone is still much lower, if that makes sense. I hope it does. And so you are still usually you still experience in menopause some degree of estrogen dominance, which is weird, right? Because you don't actually have that much estrogen. It's just relative to how much progesterone you have. So because of that even lower state of progesterone, you still can sometimes have progesterone or estrogen dominance manifesting, and that can be not so helpful when fat loss is the goal. Progesterone is also anti-cortisol. So if your progesterone levels are really, really low, usually cortisol levels are high. Estrogen in a healthy amount is also helpful for insulin sensitivity. So often, especially with regards to estrogen, we think of estrogen as being this evil, evil thing. You want a certain amount, just not too much. It's like that Goldilocks zone, right? So in menopause, everything's crashed. And so you've got a number of things happening here. When you are in a state where you're not as sensitive to insulin, it means that you don't handle carbohydrates as well. And this is why usually women in their menopausal years do better on lower carbohydrate diet. That doesn't mean you only eat coconut oil all day, but it does mean that lowering your carbohydrate intake usually will help. Now, I'm not all about like low carb diets for everybody, but in menopause, because of what the hormones are doing, it's usually helpful. Again, carbohydrates and insulin have a direct relationship. So it doesn't matter what you eat. Whenever you eat, you produce insulin. You're going to do that no matter what. But carbohydrate intake causes you to produce much more insulin than protein and fats. So you basically, because you're not sensitive to that insulin anymore due to what your hormones are doing, you just don't metabolize the carbohydrates well, and you have more of a pronounced insulin response to them than somebody would who was, 18 or 25 or 30 even. But as we get older, this usually becomes more and more of a thing. Hopefully this is making sense so far. If you have any questions, you can always post below. You can send me a message, etc. So what I would say to somebody who was in menopause and was really struggling to keep their weight in check is to first look at where your carbohydrate intake is at. So are you eating a lot of sugar? Are you taking in, multiple servings a day of grains? Are you eating a few pieces of fruit per day? All of these, even if they're from healthy sources, all of these foods are high in carbohydrate, and because of that, it could cause your body to store a little bit more fat, because insulin is a fat storing hormone. So you want to take a look at that. So the first thing to do is reduce, or if you really want to be ambitious, remove all the refined sugars in your diet. So anything that has sugar, chocolate bars, pop, candy, whatever you might eat that has sugar in it, even like maybe that honey, the sugar that you're adding to your coffee, or the honey that you're scooping into your tea, all of these things would be your first place to go. Beyond that, you can start to play with your diet to find the right level of carbohydrate intake for you. If you are really active, you'll be able to handle more carbohydrates than somebody who's sedentary. So that's another thing to take into account. There's also other specific foods that will be your best friends during this time, others that will be more. There's a lot to this. So to start with, reduce the overall intake of sugars in your diet, and dense sources of carbs like cereals and breads and those kinds of things. Beyond that, if you need more help, please contact me. We could do a session over Skype. I love this stuff. I live for this, so I would be happy to help you further with getting closer to your goal. But that's a great place to start, okay? So beyond that, with regards to exercise, because Janet was asking specifically about exercise, long duration cardio, so like running on a treadmill for an hour or doing the elliptical for 45 minutes, these types of things, they actually cause the body to produce more cortisol than like short duration exercise would. So usually in menopause, women do better. I find with my clients have done better with incorporating short but intense workouts, because these workouts are also very good for revving up the metabolism. They're metabolic conditioning type workouts. So I'll give you a really simple example of one. You take your iPhone, you download an app, like an interval timing app. You set your exercise interval for 30 seconds and your rest interval for 30 seconds, and you select like 12 repetitions of this. You can do this in your living room, you can do this in your gym, you can do this wherever. All you do is, for the first 30 seconds during your exercise interval, you're going to do something hard and fast. So it could be burpees, it could be jogging on the spot, it could be high knees, running and raising your knees up, or if your level of fitness is lower, even just walking on the spot or jumping on a little trampoline, something like that might be enough. So you just want to do something for 30 seconds that gets your heart rate up. Then you follow that with 30 seconds where you're just maybe pacing, so walking on the spot, bringing the heart rate down. Then after those 30 seconds, you go again for those 12 intervals. This type of thing can be great for just kicking up the metabolism a little bit and making you more sensitive to that insulin effect that is happening when you eat, and especially if you're somebody who loves carbs. So that's, I think, a great place to start, Janice. High intensity, short duration workouts, maybe 3 times a week. You don't want to go crazy on the exercise either. If you do too much in attempt to lose more fat, and you're like getting all desperate about it, your cortisol is going to go up, and that is not going to be helpful based on where your hormones are at. So more is not better. Start with 3 times a week. 12 minutes of those intervals that I was just discussing. So 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, 12 times. So it's a 12-minute workout. That's it. Do that 3 times a week. And beyond that, just be active. Keep moving by, walking a lot and doing yoga and doing things that are going to lower your cortisol. Meditate. You basically want to get the sugars down, get the carbs down a bit. You have to figure out your personal tolerance and lower your stress. Those things are going to help so much. It's a great place to start. If you really want to get like super fit and super lean and super toned and you have, you're really ambitious in that way, I don't believe age has to be in the way of that. You just have to get a little bit more particular about your diet. And so there might be some what I call diet detective work that needs to happen, and this is something I can help with. Please visit my Facebook page, teshiamahar.com, or my website, teshiamahar.com. Beyond that, send me a message if you want to through either of those sources, and of course also Instagram I have, and Twitter and all that stuff. So follow me, keep in touch, send me questions if you have them, send me requests for videos like this. Happy to help. It's why I'm here, you guys. Have a great week, and happy Monday. Bye.